Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Imperial Diecast, and today we're taking a look at another car you don't see on the roads anymore, but which was brought back into pop culture a bit by Kendrick in 2024, a 1987 Buick Grand National. I wanted one of these because of how unique they are, and if you collect American cars from the 60s through 80s like I do, Buicks are definitely on the bucket list. So let's unbox it. This model is made by IXO in 1/43 scale, and I had to pay the full price of €24.95 at Model Car World, where I got it from a couple of days ago. But I have seen these also go for like 30. So it comes in this plastic case, which works as a display box, and then over here you can see that it says Buick Grand National 1987. Anyway, it's fastened underneath by two Phillips head screws, so I'm going to unscrew those, and then we'll see. The Buick Grand National, which is a reference to the NASCAR Grand National series, by the way, was 1982 onward, based on the G-body Gen 2 Buick Regal that was made until 1987. The Grand National first released in 1982 mostly as a trim level, but by 1987 it had become somewhat of a muscle car in terms of performance because, in a straight line, it was basically a Corvette killer, and was even faster than a Lamborghini Countach. And also other contemporaries of the time like the IROC Z, and it for sure smoked the Fox body Mustang, which is also one of the reasons why some state police used it as an interceptor. It has a subtle spoiler on the trunk lid to tell you that it is a performance car, and not just a regular coupe, but a sleeper of sorts. But at the end of the day, the Grand National was a boulevard car, so when it came to handling, it wasn't particularly good on the track, unlike the IROC Z. Now officially, the Grand Nationals were all released in black, very Darth Vader-like. So the white is not a factory color for the 1987 Grand National, and rather one for the Regal, or perhaps the 86 T-Type, which in 1987 was rebranded as the Turbo T, although those all came with a hood ornament, while this one doesn't have one. So I don't think this is a very accurate model, because a Grand National is black, a regular Buick Regal has the spoked wheels, and the 86 T-Type / 87 Turbo T have the hood ornament and don't have the ducktail spoiler, which only the Grand National has. So I would classify this model as a repainted Grand National. If color accuracy is important to you, there is a black Grand National in 1/43 scale from the American Cars magazine collection, and I believe it was also sold with a modified exhaust in the 1/43 scale Fast and Furious series. But I bought the white one because I just think it looks awesome in this color. So taking a look at the front of the 1/43 scale 1987 Buick Grand National by IXO, you can see that the front of the car is done very nicely. It captures the real Grand Nationals look perfectly, I'd say. We have these 4 quad headlamps, and there is no pegs in any of them, so they're done pretty nicely. In the middle we have this big black grille, and then at the bottom right it says Buick. We've got a rubber front bumper, and underneath we have a Vermont license plate in green. And flanking it on both sides are the indicators, which are in orange. They're separate pieces, and they don't have any pegs in them either, so that's also nice. Now you'll see that further below, the black air dam underneath the front license plate has a gap, and that gap is to channel airflow into the intercooler. As for the engine, it's a 196 cubic inch, aka 3.8 liter turbocharged V6, which you can also see on the domed hood is written here, 3.8 SFI turbo, with the SFI standing for sequential fuel injection, producing 245 horsepower by 1987, with the top-of-the-line high-performance model being the GNX that went up to 276 horsepower. At least those are the officially understated figures. You see, both Buick and Chevy are owned by GM, and the parent company at the time had an internal memo saying no GM car should have more horsepower than their Corvette. So in reality, the turbocharger made those 245 horses behave more like 400. Looking at the side profile, you'll see how this type of styling for coupes became very popular in the US by the late 1980s and early 1990s, where you'd have these narrow windows behind the B-pillar and the C-pillar would sharply angle downward, leaving plenty of space for a large trunk, the kind you'd actually expect on a sedan. These side view mirrors are also very tiny, but accurate to the ones on the real car. Taking a closer look at the wheels, you can see that these are chrome wheels, and the one thing that they're missing are Grand National logos on the center locks. The wheel diameter is also kind of small compared to the rest of the car, but I think it's also like that on the real Grand National. This side air intake here, I'm not sure if this was standard for the Grand National or an option, so it might be another inaccuracy on this model. Taking a look at the back of the 143 scale 1987 Buick Grand National by IXO, you can see that the back is pretty decent looking. It's got the same Vermont license plate as at the front, and above it we have the trunk lock. To the left we have a logo which says Grand National, and it's got the 6 sort of shaped Buick Grand National logo, which is made to look like a mix between a turbocharger and the number 6 because it's got the V6. And then to the right we have the Buick branding, and the taillights are in red, but they do have pegs in them, and unfortunately my model also has 2 paint cracks here. And as you can see, the third brake light that the US mandated 1986 onward is just tacked on the parcel shelf. And taking a look at the interior of the Buick Grand National from 1987, you can see we have some gauges printed behind the steering wheel, and the protruding center console binnacle contains the radio and cassette player. Now keep in mind this is an all-black interior and in 143 scale, so it'll be hard to show you the details. But you can see we've got some air vents modeled, and there's the 4-speed automatic transmission. The seats are also nicely textured. This is a 2+2, so it's got a rear bench seat. And if I turn on the flash, you'll also see that the door panels are detailed. They've got the same padding as on the real car. And taking a look at the driver's side of the car, it's once again kind of hard to see the details, but they're there. Just wished for some silver highlighting. I'm taking a look at the bottom of the car. You can see that it just says 143 Buick. Got some undercarriage detail here, transmission detail, rear differential, fuel tank. Then we have these 2 exhausts, which are done pretty nice, I'd say. And also there's the spare wheel, I think, over there. So yeah. So I hope you guys liked my review of the 143 scale 1987 Buick Grand National / Regal / T-Type / Turbo T. I wish IXO had been a bit more precise in its nomenclature, but it's a good model. And if you're interested in more reviews like this, make sure to check them out over here. Take care. This is Imperial Diecast, signing out.